Time for bed.
But Christmas is tomorrow. I'm too excited to sleep.
Would you go to sleep if I told you a bedtime story?
Okay.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and Mommy and the kids were worried about Daddy when they heard about the bus crash on the radio. But Daddy came home safe and sound, and it was the best Christmas ever.
Yay!
However, everybody on the packed bus died, and their family spent Christmas Day identifying bodies and planning funerals.
What the fuck?
Christmas Carol Catastrophes, a podcast about the oddest Christmas songs ever unleashed on an unsuspecting public, starts November 17th.
No, really. What in the actual fuck?
Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin Grabone, known to my friends as Marv, and this time I'm going to let each person introduce themselves, starting with Jared.
Yeah, my name is Jared Carter, and I am the creator of a fiction podcast and audio drama called Desert Skies, which is about a gas station in the afterlife.
He's underselling it, guys. You all need to listen to that show.
Mm-hmm.
We're all sci-fi nerds, so it'd fit all of us.
Ooh. Well, this hit this week. I'm bragging a little bit. This hit number 8 for all science fiction in the United States this week.
Wow.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's getting some traction.
Cool. Stu?
My name is Robert Stewart. I'm the host of the Stu World Order podcast, where we review random comic book movies with our guests. And I have the website SWO Productions, where we have new articles that come out every single weekday, reviews on movies, TV shows, every flavor of Pop-Tart that's ever come out. We have some fiction stuff. We have just articles for days over at SWOproductions.com.
I'm leaving Ken till late because he's got till last because he's got loads of them to mention. Simon?
Hi, I'm Simon Langham. I'm one quarter these days of Who Takes the Socks Off, which is basically a podcast where a bunch of us get together and talk about, or try and answer questions that most people wouldn't even think to ask, like can millipedes walk backwards, and who took all the dicks and fannies out of books.
Out of what? I'm sorry.
Out of
I
books.
know this are introductions, but I'm jumping straight to Q&A. Out of what?
Out of books.
Oh, sorry.
Spoilers, it was basically about the fact that a lot of the character names were changed in Enid Blyton books in the 80s.
I knew what you were talking about. I didn't want to say
that. George?
Hi, my name is George Soroy. I am the host and producer of the weekly interview show Excelsior Journeys, which puts the spotlight on creatives of all kinds and allows them to share their journey to personal success. I've been doing this show for 5 years now, and I'm also the co-founder of the Once Upon a Podcast Network, which is a collective of creative-based podcasts that are all about inspiring, motivating, rejuvenating, celebrating, and educating creatives of all kinds. You can find out more about that at onceuponapodcastnetwork.com.
You're all so much better at this than me. Okay.
They're better than I am
I
as well.
think
And Ken?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ken Sweeney. I am the host and producer of The Comfortable Spot. I'm putting on my Comfortable Spot voice now, and then I'm going to switch to my European Network voice, which is very forthright and very argumentative because we do a lot of politics podcasts about the European Union. Slightly boring. But anyway, I'm going to get fired after that. So yeah, that's what I do. And then occasionally I do a podcast with my daughter. It's called Lydia's Booktastic Podcast, and she reviews books for kids. And my youngest daughter, Lucy, is going to be joining us for the next season. And that will be total chaos. So that's me in a nutshell.
Every episode that Lucy guessed on is total chaos.
She's much more grown up now. She's just deviously chaotic now. It's not natural.
Yeah, you laugh, Stu, but when she comes on, they're trying to be all professional with Lydia and Ken, and then Lucy will be like, "Oh, but I want to do this."
Yeah, she just throws a grenade into the house and just stands there while the place burns, laughing maniacally. You know, yeah, she's much more tamer now that she is, but she still can't shut up. So you know, we should really just give her own podcast where she interviews herself. So yeah, actually, it's great to see all these different types of podcasts. I like that, you know, because I thought we were just going to get like nerdy sci-fi dudes that were all going together, and then I was going to have to keep up. But it's great to see that everyone has a very different type of podcast. It's just really cool. You know, seem to have like the ticking all the boxes here. So that's brilliant. I really like that sound. I'll have to check out everybody's podcasts.
Yeah, yeah.
Martin, what are we doing this evening? We're doing top something of something, aren't we? What are we doing?
Aren't we doing our top? Are we doing top 3 or top 5 Christmas films?
We should make it top 3, shouldn't we?
Top 3, probably.
Top 5 would be here till Christmas.
Yeah. Yes, I've got another Christmas special to record tomorrow.
Christmas 2024. I can go first if you want to.
But yeah, for anyone who's listening who would expect a nice bit of general chit chat between us all at the start of the show, unknown to you all, we've just had 45 minutes of general chit chat before we started.
X-rated as well. X-rated.
45 minutes of wrestling that turned into Star Wars.
Yeah, slagging Liam Neeson's off with the big fella cinema. You know, so, will I go first? Will I? Because I have 3 films that I just love to watch at Christmas. They're not necessarily Christmas films, so I can get the ball rolling.
Those are my favorite kinds of Christmas films too. The ones that take place during Christmas, but are not necessarily noted as Christmas movies.
And if you try and watch them, you feel weird. You feel like dirty. you feel like you're watching a Disney movie. You feel
what
like
kind of films are we talking about here? Come on.
No, they're not. There's nothing mad about them. So my number 1 film for watching at Christmas time is Where Eagles Dare, starring Clint Eastwood, Richard Burton. It's got to be the ultimate, what the hell happened sort of war movie if you haven't seen it before. And no matter how many times I've watched it, every single scene gets me absolutely raring for the next minute afterwards. It's just brilliantly directed. It looks great for a 1960s movie. The action is just, it's just so unique for the time, you know? So the way they were just going around putting those little dynamite things all around the places and having it all ready before the Germans came along, you know, and it's just a fantastic film with a brilliant plot. And just like you were saying there, George, I read the book, you know, very early in my teens, and I thought the film was just as good as the book. And the book, you know,
oh, wow.
everything in the book is in the movie. And that's what's brilliant about it. They just said, we're not leaving anything out, you know? And I love the whole thing. And the other thing I really like about it, which I'm beginning to only understand over the last couple of years that I watch it, is that the 2 females in the film are brilliant. They're powerful. They're strong. They don't give a shit. And they're actually well able to look after themselves because they've been there long before the other lads get there. And I think this is just one of the best parts of the film, you know, because in any of the other war films you see at the time, either the women are just dumb as a bag of rocks or they're traitors. You know, you look Guns of Navarone, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, or either they're just maniacal killers who have lost every single members of the family and just want to kill everyone else in return. But these 2 girls, they were trained, they were spies, they were good at the job, and they were, you know, they were up to the task, you know. And I thought overall, it's just I never get tired of watching it. Never, you know. And when my kid gets to a certain age, I think 10 is probably, she wouldn't understand most of it. When she gets to about 13, I'm going to say, sit down on Christmas, I'm going to say, watch this. It's going to be great. And I know people say The Great Escape is a great Christmas movie, but for me, Where Eagles Dare is better. It's just got it's more grittier. There's more guts in it. The Great Escape's great, but except for the name. But you know it, and it's, you know, it's a bit bland in some parts. You know, it's a bit feel goody, whereas there's nothing feel goody about Where Eagles Dare. So that's my number 1. Number 2 is Star Wars. That's New Hope. Just a great film. Just saying to the guys here, well directed, still stands the test of time. The technology they used was amazing. All you can see, like, you can just see the detail in the models and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have that wishy-washy, orangey feel of, CGI that was coming out in the late 2000s. It's brilliant. It's a great film. The dialogue is terrible, but we all love it. We can say every single word to it. And it's my number 2. And it's just so many scenes in that film that you can keep watching all the time, and you just go, I missed that little bit there. Wow. So what happens is, I find each time I watch that film, I look deeper into the background of each scene, and that gives me great joy, because then you can see that it stands up so well. Because here's the thing, when you look at Star Trek, which is probably Star Wars' main rival, how many times had they got to update the starships, update the bridge designs, update the uniforms? Why? Because they just keep going out of date. And that's something that Star Wars never has to worry about. So when you saw The Mandalorian and the final scene where all the ladies were coming up to get Grogu home, the actual deck looked exactly the same as the control room that CP3O and R2D2 were in, towards the end of when they're on the Death Star. They didn't change anything. All the basic systems look exactly the same. The screens look the same. And I think that's a testimony to the set design and all that kind of stuff, So it's number 2. And then finally, my number 3 movie, I know you're probably going to laugh, but I love Home Alone. I think it's a fantastic film. And it's a great film to sit down with the kids. You have Ghostbusters for Halloween, and you have Home Alone for the kids. And, they really get into it, and they love it. And it does have a few little tiny sad moments, but you're not running a risk when you sit the family down as you do with E.T., which I found out to my absolute horror. My 2 kids, at that scene when he was in the little tent and he wasn't looking the best, they were like on their knees crying, and I was going, this was a bad idea. Like, for the first time, I saw my 10-year-old just reaching out to the TV and go, no, whereas with the Home Alone, they just loved it. You dirty stinker rat, I had to fill you with lead. Like, I had to rewind that all the time because the kids just wanted to see it again. And then the spider falling on your man's face and him screaming like a 6-year-old girl. It was just, everything about that film was just amazing. And again, it stands up. I think guys, help me out. Did Rob Reiner direct that film by any chance?
No, that was Chris Columbus.
It was just a brilliant actual. The sequences of the scenes were fantastic. The way everything just gelled. Like, I would imagine if I was speaking to him, I would imagine there was very little left on the cutting room floor, because it looks to me like they got it all great. Like they really look like first take scenes, and they were just brilliant. And that, like, people talk about Goodfellas, but actually I think that film made Joe Pesci. I think really people got to know Joe Pesci after that movie more than Goodfellas. Generally people I think got to know.
Our generation would not know who he was.
Right.
It wasn't for Home Alone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and that introduced us to his older films.
Yeah, exactly. I sat down and I watched Goodfellas. I said, turn around to the girlfriend I was going out with times. That's the guy out of Home Alone.
That's it, man.
Now you get to hear all the actual words that he wanted to say.
Yeah.
He was too busy going.
That's the version of Home Alone I want to see.
But it was a great film, man. You can forget about all the other ones that came after, because they were just a slow decline. They were like Elvis, really, But like I say, that was just my top 3 films, because I loved them all, and I would actually watch them all at one after the other. Pile the popcorn in, get a huge bottle of caffeine full of Coca-Cola, and drain the kids alive. Just have them laughing, crying, and shouting at the same time. So that's my 3. I hope they were up to scratch with the rest of them now, because mine are probably a bit simplistic, but I guess Christmas is about that, isn't it?
All right, who wants to go next?
I can go next. I got so the I put together like a list of 5, but I'll just be real brief with 3 out of 5 of them. But the one that I always save for my Christmas Eve traditional viewing, that's Die Hard. And that to me is just just a perfect example of a movie that takes place at Christmas time, but is not is not generally looked at as a Christmas movie. However, the years since, everyone has really embraced it as such. And I just think it's just a wonderful experience. The action holds up, the writing holds up, everything about that movie, the look of it, the feel of it, it just feels classic. and it deserves to be celebrated as a Christmas film, and deservedly so. The two that I will definitely just kind of touch on very quickly, they are two out of the four movies that I always refer to as my Shane Black marathon during Christmas time. And the two that I picked are Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Long Kiss Goodnight. Both of them are, really, really fun action films, and completely different ones too, because Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is definitely much more low key in its action, in its setting and everything. It's much more contained, while The Long Kiss Goodnight is huge, and it's got a lot of incredibly vast set pieces, but at the same time, both of them have these great Shane Black screenplays where you really got to see, like, the man's got something for Christmas, because he's got these movies taking place during Christmas. He's got Lethal Weapon, which really kind of started the whole thing. He's got Iron Man 3. And I haven't seen The Nice Guys yet, but I understand, like, that's also, there's at least a mention there for Christmas. But my other two that I always make a point to see, one is 1992's Batman Returns. And that to me is just like, I just love how it's so anti-Christmas, but at the same time, like, it's so Christmas, because, like, I mean, it basically just, like, it looks like it would be something that would be a toy. Just like the Wayne Manor in Batman Returns. If you compare it to the Wayne Manor in the 1989 Batman, the 1992 one, it looks like a playset that's all closed up, while the Wayne Manor one in 1989's Batman, it's all opened up. But this is the one that you can actually kind of like grab by its top and just walk off with it, with all of your toys in it. And
I think I own that, as a matter of fact.
There you go. There you go. So it just has like that sort of feel, but at the same time, it is so dark and so almost sleazy, to the point, just like looking at Danny DeVito's performance as the Penguin, and the way that the main bad guy, the one that really kind of puts everything in motion, is Max Schreck. And what does he own? A department store. And so it's like everything about it is just like, it's so giving the finger to Christmas and giving the finger to like all like the kids' blockbusters, which makes it even funnier that McDonald's went ahead and made Happy Meals out of it. It was just like everything about it. It was just like, it's so wrong, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's so much fun to really see like what it is that they did with it. And just like Tim Burton got this job because he said, like they said, we're going to let you do a Tim Burton movie. And they let him do it, and he did it. And he brought in the guy who wrote Heathers, and thought that, like, make us a Happy Meal movie. Everything about it was just like, you really want me to do that? Okay. And set about doing it. So I truly, truly love that one. And the other one that I always make a point to watch during the holidays is because of the climax that took place on December 25th, and that was Rocky IV. And the thing about Rocky IV, in the past couple of years, Stallone has released his director's cut version of it, which is a weird like experiment. I feel like it doesn't feel like the same film that it was in the theaters, because while that film was, obviously like the shortest one out of the whole series, and it came out to just at an hour and a half, they were saying how how this director's cut was called Rocky IV, Rocky versus Drago, Ultimate Director's Cut. This is like the most odd title that you can think of. But he said like it's got 20 minutes or 40 minutes or so like of added footage, and it's still an hour and a half long, because he took out so much that he felt like made it too dated. He took out all the robot scenes for one.
No, not the robot
scene. I know. It's just like the robot is the ultimate. First of all, you give Paulie nothing to do. You barely have Paulie in the movie for like about 5 minutes at the most without the robot. And he took away like the perfect representation of how far away from his roots Rocky has gone. So it's like it, but at the same time, there is, and that's why I watch like the theatrical cut during the holidays. It just feels like it hits all those right notes. It's manipulative as hell, but I don't care. It's got a great Vince DiCola score, and the training montage is it's montage the movie basically, just like there are 5 different montages in this damn thing.
But the training montage was very different, wasn't it, to the previous one? Because when you look back on the previous one, I mean, we don't need to talk about that. But the fourth one, it was just much more realistic. He grew a beard, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and he got himself, I think he went down to like 5% body fat or something ridiculous, to the point where just like, how is your heart able to take this? Just like that's, and the fight itself is just a blast. It's one of the best fights that you'll ever see, like in cinema. It's so much fun, and the music and the songs that accompany it. I got to tell Vince during an interview on my show that Rocky IV and Transformers the movie are 2 of my most replayed soundtracks that I've ever owned, and both of them were his. So it was a blast to be able to revisit that one at all times. And so the fact that it's only an hour and a half long, definitely add it to your viewing list, because you won't be disappointed. It's a lot of fun.
I have the box set.
There you go.
So do I.
As do I. Yep. So those are my picks.
Super picks. Well done.
I'm not sure where to go now. I think I might go with Jared, because
because I can take us into normal Christmas movie
world. We're going to get a real Christmas film.
Take that, George.
There you go.
I'm loving this. I have no strong opinions on like Die Hard being a Christmas movie or not. I need to watch it. I've never seen it. Full disclosure.
Wow.
Yeah.
It opens with Run DMC. It ends with Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow. Like it's got all the great trappings of a great Christmas movie.
I have to sneak in here. If we're being honest, I've never seen the first Star Wars.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So if we're being honest about classic movies that we mentioned.
Well, that was Stu, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for
I haven't seen The Sound of Music.
There you go.
Forgiven.
I don't forgive you for that one, but Jesus, poor old SWO Productions imposter syndrome.
It's not to tangent this away. It's one of those movies where like I know everything that happens in it because of pop culture, so I've never felt the urge to actually sit down and watch it.
Saying you know all the Beatles songs, but you never saw them play live. It's like, you gotta do it, man. You gotta do it. Just sit down on your own. Don't let anybody in the room. And,
Carve out some time.
Let it through you.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with I'm gonna move back here backwards a little bit. The movie Last Holiday is really I don't know if you guys have seen this. Queen Latifah, she finds out she's going to die, and then decides to go on this like extravagant European vacation during the holidays. It was originally going to be played. The character was going to be played by John Candy originally, which is super interesting to me. It's actually I think a really funny and charming movie, and not enough people know about it. And I highly just recommend, if you're looking for a feel good, kind of like heartwarming Christmas movie, that's the way to go. For my actual top 3, Jingle All the Way. Jingle All the Way, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jake Lloyd, who we talked about a little bit before the show actually started recording. One of his better roles, and as far as I know, one of his only other roles. It was I made an instant connection with this movie because when I was a kid, we went on a trip to Universal Studios and we rode the backlot tour where you ride on the tram through movie sets, and they were filming Jingle All the Way. They had the New York City parade scene taking place at that time. It is not actually a great movie, but it is a decent Christmas film that brings up a lot of warm feelings for me, and it's just cringy enough. And Phil Hartman is actually a really fantastic, like his role in this movie is worth watching it for alone. He plays the creepy neighbor who is trying to hit on Arnold's wife and steal her away, and he's just fantastic. Next up for me is Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. I only saw this in the last couple of years. It is, for the music alone, this is just one of the sweetest like movies imaginable. There is nothing about it that is even remotely cynical. You see so much of that. I feel like, especially like in modern Christmas movies, they're really geared towards like this Disney Channel generation where they just, they want to be a little raw, a little edgy as far as you can be with like teen and child characters. But Emmett Otter Jug Band, it's just like, it's really a story about poverty. It's really a story about like, I can just imagine kids around the country, because this was first aired on television, kids around the country who are growing up in impoverished places watching this movie and being like, that's a character like me. Whereas so many Christmas movies, Home Alone, which I love, I mean, that house, right? Like these are the characters that we're used to seeing, and they're like, holy crap, that is not my Christmas. And it's the one that you compare yourself to. And Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, especially coming from a rather poor family myself, was like, watching that was just so redeeming. And I think too, my number one, and I have the limited edition vinyl soundtrack. If you can see that here, I'll put it up here. I have a Muppet. It looks exactly like I have a Muppet Christmas Carol background for those who are listening. And I'm trying to hold up my vinyl, but it looks exactly the same as this background. And I got it last year. The music from Muppet Christmas Carol is one of the things that makes it such an incredibly special and meaningful movie. The music was composed by Miles Goodman, who actually, I don't know if you guys are What About Bob fans, but you can watch What About Bob and it sounds like a Christmas movie because all you hear is Muppet Christmas Carol music and vice versa. And then the lyrics to the songs that were written were actually written by a guy named Paul Williams, who wrote the opening theme for the movie, The Love Boat. So somehow those two guys working together just made something incredibly magical. So Muppet Christmas Carol, not only the music, but also Michael Caine's unbelievable performance. One of the things that I've seen come out over the last couple of years, which is which I've loved, it's shown up as a bit of a meme, which is that Tim Curry and Michael Caine were both fantastic in their respective Muppet movies. I'm sorry, I'm losing my
Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah, Muppet Treasure Island. That he did really well in that movie because he acted like a Muppet. And Michael Caine did really well in the Muppet Christmas Carol because he treated everyone like fellow actors. And I thought, man, it's just his performance in that is so believable that for being a post Jim Henson film, it's amazing.
Now comes my confession. This is the year that I will finally see a Muppet Christmas Carol. I will finally sit down. I will watch it. I don't know why it's evaded me for so long. And I think, Jared, I think you hit it right there. Post Henson, that always feels like I loved the Muppets, the 2011 one with Jason Segel. I loved that because like that was hearkening back to those times. Like it was actually like going into their theater, and I got welled up watching that. But it was just like I always felt like when Henson died, it felt like my interest in the Muppets just kind of like waned for a bit. Yeah. And so the fact that I've always not avoided, but just missed watching it. This is the year I was just like, and it was that meme that really brought it home to me. It was just like, everyone is, like the way that, and I totally get what Michael Caine would do. I totally get he's the one that would do that. So it's just like, you got to go forward with it. I mean, this is the guy. He's
like Liam Neeson in Star Wars. He can't help but just be like the best freaking actor, regardless of whatever the material is he's working.
The man did Jaws the Revenge. You're like, he's got it in his own filmography. He's got his.
And then a last little
seen that one.
Fun fact for me is I actually applied for an internship with the Jim Henson Company when I was 16 years old and got an invite to come out to Hollywood and interview, and my parents would not let me because I was 16.
Oh my.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
have you
George-
forgiven them yet?
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. I was going to say, George, a good way to look at it is Muppet Christmas Carol. Do you remember the classic Muppet series when you used to have like one set piece that was based on an old, classic or whatever? It's almost like thinking of it that way, where it's just a long form version of that on location, essentially.
Yeah.
Just think of it that way, because it is that good a film. It's got the classic Muppets sort of feel to it that we remember from the old TV series. It's
I love
well.
the fact that Paul Williams is back to do the lyrics, because he's the man that gave us the Rainbow Connection.
That's right.
From the Muppet movie, and all those amazing songs that are in there. Like, I mean, that soundtrack is also just one of the greats. And that movie is tremendous. So like, I mean, those three original Muppet movies, man, they were fantastic, and all in their own special way. So I can't wait to see this one.
You'll be singing the songs until next year.
Bring it on.
Good.
Bring it on. I can't wait.
They're on my I've got songs from that on my Apple plug. Sorry. I've got them on my playlist for Christmas songs I have that I listen to through the Christmas period. I've got songs off that soundtrack on there.
Very cool.
Like feels a lot like Christmas and things like that. Yeah. Great.
It's just really clever as well, the way they used Gonzo to bring in the Dickens prose rather than just trying to paint the story with the actual scenes. That was just a really clever touch.
We read that book every year as a family for like the month of December.
Oh, nice.
And the Muppet Christmas Carol, more than any other more than any other version of the Christmas Carol. And I'll be honest, I love them all. Like that, every new rendition, I'm like, sign me up, I'll watch it. But that one, the Muppet Christmas Carol, is probably the most true to the source material that you'll see in film, like word for word in many ways.
Right, go over to Stu, who I'm guessing might include Iron Man 3, but I'm not sure.
No, Iron Man 3. Not a big particular fan of Iron Man 3, despite what the podcast is about. You know what? I'm feeling under a lot of pressure because we've had 3 people go. We've had George, Ken, Jared all give 3 movies. No overlap so far. So I feel like I'm going to go in the same direction here. I'm going to give 3 movies that I really like that we haven't named yet. And we left off talking about Muppets Christmas Carol, which otherwise would probably be my number 1. And we're talking about interpretations of Dickens and A Christmas Carol and everything. And that leaves me with one that was definitively going to be in my top 3 anyway. And that is Bill Murray's Scrooged, which it's early 90s Bill Murray. We already talked a little bit about What About Bob. I mean, he was just, he couldn't miss in the 80s and 90s. Everything he did was solid gold. And I love Scrooged. It's so funny. And we talked about how there is a notion of going cynical in Christmas movies. And this movie is cynical, but it loops all the way around at the end because you have this Scrooge character. You have to be cynical to a degree, but then you get to the end and he completely redeems himself in the way that only Bill Murray can, where he's still a charming asshole, but he's Bill Murray, who's a good guy now, charming asshole. And
he said it best in the movie too. Like, the Jews have a great word, schmuck. I was a schmuck, and now I'm not a schmuck.
But the other thing was, if you hadn't have had that movie, you wouldn't have had films like Bad Santa, because it really opened the door for, as you say, that cynical type approach that you got towards the mid 90s and late 90s. So, kudos to Murray for taking the trip when a lot of actors in his position would have ran a mile from that film.
No, that's not the kind of thing that a lot of people would have mainstreamed their way into, but it's Bill Murray. Bill Murray could do anything.
Very few people could have done that role, so it was tailor-made for him, wasn't it?
Absolutely. So after that, one thing I wanted to get into, because besides comic book movies, my favorite genre is horror, and there's a surprisingly rich history of horror Christmas movies that you wouldn't think these two things blend together so well. But I think the one I'm going to call out in particular is the most classic one, I would assume. The one from 1974 that still holds up to this day is Black Christmas. I just watched that for the first time a couple of years ago, like since COVID started. And you've got Margot Kidder and this other cast of young women who are supposed to be in a sorority. And I think it's the origin of the call is coming from inside the house meme, where they're getting just extremely depraved phone calls and people just breathing on the line and people saying terrible things. And you get this origin that it's somebody who's living in their walls is calling them from inside the sorority house. And you've got the opening death with the girl who gets the plastic bag over her head in the attic, and it's such an iconic death scene. And I love so much. I'm talking about what the best death scenes are in an episode about Christmas movies. It's where this episode needed to go at some point. But yeah, I just think, I mean, beyond Black Christmas, you've got A Christmas Horror Story, which is an anthology movie. You've got a movie that came out last year, very low budget. It came out on Shudder and I loved it. It was called Christmas Bloody Christmas, about a robot Santa that comes to life and starts murdering people. But I love Christmas horror. I just think it's so delightfully charming. And kind of, because you're juxtaposing like this hopefulness and happiness of everything with, you know, the opposite of that. You're with horror themes and scariness, and it shouldn't work together as well as it does. But I think like taking horror and Christmas, because there are aspects of horror. There's the movie Krampus, which the initial horror is, you know, being with your family at Christmas, which so many people look forward to, but a lot of people not so much.
Greatest opening credit sequence ever.
Yes.
Ever. That's the best in Superman. Like, it was fantastic.
Oh, Stu, I'd say you watched The Last Temptation of Christ and you know, that at Easter. Hey guys, this is a great movie. And then we're gonna follow it up with Mel Gibson's special Easter special. There's a little bit of gore in it, but not too much. And you finish with Life of Brian. Oh, man.
And throw in just a little bit of a Jesus Christ Superstar to offend people.
There you go.
No, but and then my last one, it's another anti-Christmas movie, but it came out last year. I saw it in theaters. It's not horror, but it's more like a die-hardian action Christmas movie. I really like David Harbour's Violent Night, which
I enjoyed that quite a bit. I watched that with my oldest son.
I want to see that.
Very fun.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's essentially so many things since John Wick has come out are just John Wick now. Like, John Wick has just changed cinema, and now we've got like the one person against the world. I mean, it's Die Hard is what it is, but they've kind of scaled it back and just made it like this one guy who's an expert at everything, and he's going up against an entourage of villains. And so you did that, except you did it with Santa as the protagonist. And so Santa goes into this kid's house just on his route delivering presents, but there's a big kerfluffle going on where there's a gang in there trying to rob these people. And so Santa gets tied up trying to save them. And it has... I'm doing it again. It has possibly one of the greatest action death scenes of all time, where Santa... He does his, like, he rubs his nose and sends somebody up a chimney, and it just completely obliterates them.
Wasn't he a Viking warrior or something?
He was. His
backstory, wasn't it?
His backstory, which we
warrior.
didn't get much of. I'm thinking we're definitely going to get a prequel at some point. Like, how did Viking guy become Santa Claus? Because they don't show us that exactly. They just show us that he used to be a Viking.
So it sounds like a feature-length version of The Night the Reindeer Died from the beginning of Scrooged.
Yeah.
You know what? It's yes, to a degree. Yeah, it's that. But those are my three without having to, you know, rename anything that's already come up, because I would have mentioned Die Hard. I would have mentioned Muppet Christmas Carol, but I'm going off on my own to name three that haven't been brought up before. So putting a lot of extra pressure on Simon here if he can come up with three other unnamed movies. But,
well, anyway, it's been fun, guys.
Escape the victory.
Is that because of me?
I'm out
Were
of
you
here.
going to take Black Christmas and Violent Night? I understand.
No. Okay, so I mean, I think all my top three have been covered already.
I would still
I've got
love to
mixed-
hear them because you're gonna have a different take on them.
Let it rip, man.
I mean, okay, if I run through them real quick, I had number three. I had Home Alone. Home Alone for me is one of those films where you sit, Home Alone's on, and you're sort of like, yeah, okay, we'll sit down and watch it, and then every single time you are just pulled into it, and it doesn't matter how many times they take paint cans to the face, you still laugh. It doesn't matter. So Home Alone was number three. Number two for me it was Muppets Christmas Carol. Simply because it is the definitive Christmas Carol. I loved that film. I could watch that film over and over and over again. And number one was Die Hard. As much as anything, because when I was about 18, I got it on video, and I that video was worn out. I just watched it over and over and over and over and over again. And it was one of those few. They do action comedies these days, and it kind of feels like there's too much comedy, not enough action. And Die Hard had just the right balance where it was believable and it was action packed, but there was that hint of comedy. You know, now I have a machine gun. You know, this stuff is just it sort of set the scene for all these other films come afterwards.
Nice.
Sorry, Simon, you just make a really good point there, which I think you're nailing it there. I think the problem with trying to make these action comedies nowadays is they rely on the gore and the murders and the kill scenes to be a funny factor, and that means that the characters have absolutely no soul. And
there's no believability about them.
Yeah,
it's just,
the thing
it's
about
just...
Willis was that he had come from Moonlight, so people never, you know, if you said to him, if you said I got this idea for a film, they would have dug up Dolph Lundgren or something and stuck him in that movie, or the worst of all, like Steven Seagal or something, the man who never had a soul. So, like, you know, somebody, whoever said let's get Bruce Willis, right, was the best move ever. I think.
I mean, he wasn't even second choice for that role.
Yeah. Yeah,
there were so many people ahead.
Bill Murray could have probably pulled it off, but he would.
Michael Caine, I think, would have been fantastic. And I haven't seen it. I'm just assuming he would have made it amazing.
Yeah, but I think the role of Bruce Willis is just what makes Die Hard so good. You know, it's like you couldn't get anybody doing that role now, and they have never matched it. I don't think for that kind of genre where it's an action comedy. I can't think of anything that's certainly the stuff that's good, but not stuff that's come up to that level where you just want to watch it over and over again.
You've just mentioned Michael Caine, and I don't know whether this pop culture reference is going to cross over to America, but I'm just imagining Michael Caine now with Die Hard, and you're only supposed to blow the bloody lift up.
See, I haven't even seen it, and that's funny to me. That's great.
And, you know, I think a young Caine could have pulled that off. Actually,
yeah, he probably could have.
He was cool.
Yeah, he had that genre. Yeah, it's good. But you're right. It's just like you look like even John Wick, for all its amazing choreography, it's lacks something that Die Hard has. You know.
I mean, to be honest, I watched the John Wick films, and to me, the choreography seems stilted. It's not. It looks like someone who has learned some of this stuff, but still isn't as fluid as you would expect. And you watch some of the old martial arts films, you know. I mean, even things as bad as Shogun Assassin. You know, you watch those sort of films, and even in those, the choreography is so much slicker and so much more fluid, which is what you'd expect from someone like John Wick, who knows all this shit, and you know. You know, it just feels a bit feels a bit Keanu Reevesy. Basically, it feels like, I mean, wonderful guy, fantastic, down to earth, wonderful man, terrible actor. Basically,
roadblocks, I call him.
Yeah. So it just feels like that to me. The John Wick film. I mean, they're great.
Bit Minecraft, it's a bit Minecraft. Yeah, but I lads, Martin, have you got your top three? Are you, like, you've been sitting there all very quiet? What's your top three?
I mean, I've done a top list 2 years on the trot already now, you know. But I'll go for three. I mean, I would have picked, if it was five, I think I would have put Muppet Christmas Carol in there for sure, definitely. What else would I put in there? Okay, I'll go for three. I like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
The fact that we went through all of this and we just now got it.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great Christmas, isn't it? You know,
It
for
is,
teenagers
yeah.
who hate Christmas, who don't get up early in the morning, who sleep till 12 o'clock, don't give a shit about Santa.
I mean, you say that about Bill Murray with Scrooge, but I think this probably led
Yeah.
to Scrooged
Yeah,
in a sense.
Chevy Chase was definitely he was
I,
leading.
I think Scrooged is almost a cross between this National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Groundhog Day, in a sense,
Mm.
in a way.
Great films, great films.
Number
great.
2, probably Elf with Will Ferrell, which will
Yeah, it's in the cinema in
Yeah.
Ireland this week.
which will
They brought it back into the cinema.
irritate the hell out of Bill and Sean, as me and Stu know.
Yeah, it's in the
'Cause
cinemas here in Ireland. They brought it
They
back.
hate the film,
Yeah,
but I just love
I
it.
don't
and
understand
know
how you
why.
hate Elf. How do you hate
No.
Elf? That's
It's such a charming film. It's such
is.
a and just like there's so much care that went into it and everything. Like
I think it's the most approachable Will Ferrell film that there is. Really
Yeah,
easy one that
I-
anyone.
yeah,
can
I
get
agree.
into, in
I
my
agree with that.
opinion.
Yeah.
You know, even
Come on,
down
guys,
to
we're
the.
talking about Blades of Glory, one of the greatest movies ever made. Seriously, Lone Wolf, come on! No wonder he was on his own. No one else could reach him.
Oh,
You know,
Yeah.
it's funny. I want to say, like, Elf is. I feel I know too many people who want to watch it every year, and it's like the only thing that they want to invite us over to watch with them. That's the only, like, I love the movie, and one thing that I'll say about it is if you look at like the last 10 to 20 years, has there been any new Christmas movie that has really become a Christmas classic? Like, this is on every family's rotation,
Mhm.
like the movie Elf has
Yeah.
become.
Blame Hallmark on that.
Mm.
I mean, I think one that might feature it would in that list would be the Snowman and the Snow Dog. I don't know if you guys get that in the States.
Yeah, we saw that. That's
Oh, I've never heard of
brilliant.
it.
That's
I've
Simon.
never heard of
Right.
this.
Yeah,
There's a
No.
Raymond
watch it,
Briggs
guys.
book called The Snowman, and they made an animated movie from it. Basically, 30 years ago was it, or maybe more?
Oh, the Snowman.
It's a long time.
I saw the Iron Brew commercial
Yep.
based on it,
Yep.
which was
Not-
brilliant.
Yeah, 1982. That was Simon. I think.
1982. Jesus.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's 40 years
But
ago.
they made a follow-up not so long ago. What was it, 4 years ago or so?
Yeah.
And it was called The Snowman and the Snow Dog, and it's
kids love it.
in some ways it's actually better than the original.
Yeah.
And the musical score is fantastic,
Oh.
and it just invokes that whole sort of family Christmas thing.
100%.
And it's probably one of the few films, as you say, in the last 20 years that could go into that every year rotation, I think.
And if I
Oh,
could
that's
just
cool.
put in
I'll have to
really
check that out.
quickly, one really quickly now that Simon's been talking about that, there is a little short actually that you can get called Stickman.
Yes.
Man is
Mm.
absolutely
Oh yeah,
I think that's actually better.
We
than
saw that.
Gruffalo. I like the Gruffalo, but I think
Stickman.
Stickman is
Stickman's
fantastic.
better than the
Yeah.
Gruffalo,
Yeah.
brilliant. You should watch that. Watch your kids' eyes welting up and then
Mm.
die at the end. It's really, really
But
good.
mind the kids, my eyes are welling up.
Yeah.
The kids
know.
can just get on with what they want.
Well,
Ken,
I like to watch them cry.
we've got the book and read it every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Mm.
yeah. My daughter,
we haven't got
all of her
kids.
books for the podcast. Yeah, she loves them. All kids love Julia Donaldson. She's a
Yeah.
brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant writer. You know, she writes amazing stories. Now, Simon, sorry, Martin, I think you had one more. Did you?
So I've done that and Elf, and I'll go for the Albert Finney version of Scrooge. You know, of the Scrooge story as well. You know,
Wow,
with
yeah.
you know
Mhm.
that,
That was
that one.
the one that we used to watch in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one you watch
Yeah,
as a kid.
yeah, kids. I'm sure that was the same in the UK. Probably not in the States, but in the school they pull that out and stick it on the
Yeah.
VHS. Yeah, it's kind of like really dark and
I have memories
very
of
rich
that.
looking film.
That's the one where me and my family, we've always watched that all the time. Every year it comes on, we've watched
Good-
it.
good
Not gone a
choice.
year without watching that. And the
Yeah.
songs are brilliant and everything's great. And Alec Guinness is incredible as Marley.
Yeah,
Mm.
Robert Finney.
Oh, I bet. I haven't seen it. George
worth it.
George C. Scott is about as far back as I go.
That's a great version
Oh, yeah.
as well. I
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
version. Yeah.
I
It's
like
good.
the what's the other one? Patrick Stewart did a good version as
I was
well.
just gonna say, didn't
He
Captain?
did. He
Crab
did a
do it?
one man version of it, didn't he?
Yeah,
He did
yeah.
that on stage, but there's
He
a
did
film
that on
version.
Broadway. On Broadway, yeah.
But there's a film version with Patrick Stewart in, and it's
Ooh.
got who's that actor? Ken, I can't remember his name now. From With Nail and I.
Oh, he was also. Did he play Loki in? Was it him?
Yep.
Tom
The
Hiddleston.
tall guy, Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, yes.
From,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
He was kind of Loki's alternative Loki.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Alligator.
Mm.
Yeah, so that was him. Yeah, you know, there's lots of women listening to this going, God, 6 lads talking about Loki's alligator. Holy shit.
If I may also just throw this out just as like a one-off quick recommendation, since we're talking about A Christmas Carol. I just recently saw The Man Who Invented Christmas.
That is a great
all
film.
about Charles Dickens.
great.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Fantastic. And Christopher Plummer is in it.
Yep.
And he's remarkable. Like, I mean, that's one I've only seen it once, but I still own it. So I need to definitely need to watch it more
Mhm.
because it really was just a tremendous film.
Yeah.
I like
I-
the Christmas Chronicles films as well.
Yeah, they're good.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think Kurt,
Heard
I think
those
Kurt
are good.
Russell,
I haven't
Kurt
seen
Russell
it.
is great.
I saw the first one, didn't see the second
Yeah.
one, but yeah,
Kurt
they're,
Russell's
they're
great,
fun.
isn't it? Everything
Yeah.
breaks on him, and he's just classic, straight out of like Big Trouble in Little China, isn't he? Ah, for
Yeah.
fuck's
Really
sake.
sarcastic, really
Jack
like.
Burton
Yeah.
bringing presents to kids.
Sarcastic.
Like,
And you know something? I thought like it's amazing that we had 6 guys here, right, of all of the perfect age, and no one has gone for "It's a World of Imagination." No one has gone for Willy Wonka.
for Willy Wonka?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call that a Christmas.
Oh,
I wouldn't call
Jesus,
that a
over in
Christmas
here in
film.
Ireland, the UK, it is. I mean, like,
Yeah,
Oh,
really?
really?
yeah.
Really?
Sure, that's why they're
Weird.
releasing the new one at Christmas because they're going. People, Harry Potter fans are going mad for it. Like,
I would have
always
put that
say-
during Halloween more.
I'm
than
actually
anything. That's all
interested in
candy.
that.
Like it's
No, that's what we watch on Veterans Day here. So I don't know what.
they love Harry Potter, and I think there's a connection with them. You know, that kind of stuff, the kind of magical sort of thing about Willy Wonka. That he's not a guy you trust, but you'd still like to hang out with for a while. Kids,
Mhm.
Mhm.
kids love Roald Dahl here in Ireland and the UK.
Mm.
They say fuck the rumors, you know. It's just they say like we don't care, we love them. And I know Martin, you would tell. And when it comes to books, there's Roald Dahl days here and everything.
Oh yeah.
Willy Wonka's
Yeah.
definitely a Christmas one, along with
Mm.
Oliver. More in the UK, I think. than
Oliver,
Ireland.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to get rolled out every Christmas, didn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
Yeah,
We
You know,
get a
Oliver-
lot of musicals on British television at
Mm.
Christmas.
Yeah.
And war
Mm.
films.
and war films. Yeah, yeah. Just while we're here, the big three. What Guns and Navarone? No, that's too dark for Christmas, isn't it? So we have the Great Escape, definitely
Yeah.
very good there. What would be the third one? That have
Apocalypse Now.
I'm
assuming.
I was thinking actually.
Full Metal
It
Jacket.
depends on who
That would
comes
be-
round for Christmas dinner.
Hamburger
Yeah,
Hill.
Full Metal Jacket. Yeah,
I was thinking Kelly's Heroes actually, the one with Clint Eastwood where they go to steal
yeah
it,
maybe. Yeah.
because it was like a western, wasn't it? It was directed exactly like as if it was a western, and you know
Did they
that's
used to put Escape to Victory on quite a lot of Christmas as well?
it was a
back in the day?
shit film though, wasn't it?
I know.
You had like it's Sylvester Stallone and Goal going, "Hua, hua, hua," you know, it's like the box. Pele just got paid $500,000 to just do an overhead kick. That was all. Yeah, no,
Right.
that's a pretty.
Let's see if I can get this played so that we can respond to this. Let's have a look. Share. Advanced sharing. Hold up. Hey, what?
Uh-oh.
I'm learning what to do here. I forgot how to do it. I haven't done it for that long. That one. You should be able to see what I'm looking at now. Yep.
I can
There we
see
are.
I can see
Here we
five
go.
naked women. What's going on, Martin?
The people watching the video will say, "What's
Oh,
Ken
sorry,
watching?"
it's
minimize.
Here we go.
It's
Here we go,
statues in the
guys, sorry.
Louvre. All right, okay. Yeah, it's a Greek tragedy. I have to be honest, guys. I was going to just really throw a spanner in the works and say Alexander, the movie from the early 2000s for a Christmas film, but then I
Damn.
thought I'd be found out as being a total liar, you know, because you all have to watch one shit movie, you know, and see if it's still shit 20 years later.
Mm.
It
Can
is.
you hear,
by the
can
way.
you hear
What did you think? The thing was taken?
The Witch?
Can you hear this that I'm playing or not?
No.
No. No.
Right. Okay.
We'll just have to trust you on this.
Right. Basically, James from Teamworks is apologising that he couldn't make it. So what he said was, what Christmas film could you each see yourselves in as a character?
Oh, that's a
That's
great
easy.
story.
Mm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
easy.
Christmas Vacation, especially as I've gotten older. The idea of it was a funny movie when I was a kid. As an adult, you just relate to that character so much as an adult with children, just wanting to make like the perfect Christmas and everything that can go wrong, going wrong. And he's just I didn't know what to think of him when I was a kid. As an adult, he just seems like this dad who's trying really, really hard.
And
I
a
would
good-
also,
I was going to
hmm.
say a good story
Yeah.
about that is as well, is that I ended up paying for that on Amazon Prime, because you buy the DVD or Blu-ray in the UK and it's edited, right?
Mm.
But it's unedited on Amazon Prime.
Ah,
Wait, why is it edited?
They cut out the bad
'Cause of-
language. They cut out the bad language.
because of Bing Crosby tap dancing
that
with
bit,
Danny fucking
that
K.
that bit, because they changed it to Danny freaking K.
Oh,
Oh no, that's so sad. This hits
anyway.
different.
Go on, George. what
he's
were you
gonna
say?
find the jolliest bunch of morons this side of the nut house.
And in Ireland, they changed that to gobshites.
See, now I want to see it.
Yeah.
You were going to say, George.
Oh hell, like I always wanted to have a robot, so I would be Paulie in Rocky 4. I wouldn't quite go the same direction that Paulie would go in with it to make it all of a sudden like a sex bot for him. Like it was, I still remember like they put like so much emphasis on that robot, like when it came out, and then for Stallone to just unceremoniously just remove him entirely from his director's cut, which is a shame. Again, just because like just a quick note, like all the extra footage that he put into that director's cut is really good stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like so it just doesn't feel like a real definitive director's cut. But if I was to be like one person, I would be Paulie in Rocky 4. I would just be less of an asshole, and I would not go the way of reprogramming his robot the way that he did.
George, you've just made me wonder. I don't know whether Stu's got this far in it yet, but you've made me wonder if Buffybot was based on that robot from Rocky.
I have not gotten to the point where there's a robot. No.
Wow.
I don't know whether that one worked.
Are we
I don't
talking
know
about
whether
Buffy the
everyone knows
Vampire
Buffy the-
Slayer?
Yes, Buffy the
Yeah.
Vampire Slayer. Yeah.
Okay. She was nice.
Yeah, over at the website, I'm doing an episode by episode review. I've not gotten to a point where there's a Buffy bot. No.
Wow. That takes courage. Wow. Fair play to you on
Right.
that one. Okay. Do we have to pick one that would it have to be a character from the movies we liked?
No, it could be another film.
Ah, okay, that makes it interesting. I think probably if I had to pick somebody, I think I would probably be Steve McQueen in The Great Escape, because my God, he was so cool. He didn't even have to wear a fucking uniform. He those are the clothes he wore apparently to the first day in the set. Your man said, "Yeah, okay, you can wear them." So McQueen is just amazing in that film. That film actually is shit without him. If that movie wasn't, that didn't have a movie, just another crappy movie, and like it's just fantastic. McQueen adds so much gravitas to that movie. He actually makes the movie, he gives it a depth that it never would have had, and I think it's just incredible. And I'm surprised and very disappointed that McQueen didn't do more war movies, actually, because I think he would have been fucking great. Excuse my English. But he was amazing in that film. So yeah, I'd want to be Steve McQueen. I mean, look, lads, come on. You'd actually want to be Steve McQueen in Star Wars? So like if there was something you could do, if I could go back in time and put somebody in Star Wars, I'd probably put Steve McQueen in there. Just put him in there. Like he could be a rebel commander or something. Just walk on a set and go, everything all right?
Yeah. Do you think 10 years earlier Steve McQueen could have been Han Solo?
Oh man, everything that's modeled about Han Solo is modeled on Steve McQueen. Come on, he's like the epitome. He's like a scoundrel. McQueen has always been a scoundrel. That's the whole thing. I mean, he's 100% modeled on Steve McQueen.
I can't believe it found a way back to Star Wars. I mean,
yeah. Anyway, that's who I'd say. Steve McQueen's, because I know the guys are stuck for time. So that would be.
And I just want to
Who would
mention
you
the
be
number of time that we've said Star Trek, I mean Star Wars during this. There's going to be a lot of people listening who are going to be upset.
Where everyone has gone before.
And they're also wondering when we're going to mention the Star Wars holiday special.
Oh, we don't.
And we're not.
Oh,
still
man.
not available on Disney Plus.
Wow. That's a shame.
I could have done with a good sleep.
Obviously, was in that though, wasn't he? It's about the only decent thing that was in it, actually. the cartoon with Boba Fett.
I had on my show John Celestri, the animator who brought Boba Fett to life in that animated segment. So he was the man responsible for first giving us Boba Fett, and it was a really fun interview too. He's a great guy.
Wow, that's super cool.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Got to say, one of my favorite memories is of actually meeting Jeremy Bulloch, who was the original
Right,
Boba
the original.
Fett.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I had a good me and Louise had a good
Yeah.
like about 45-minute chat with him at a convention. Great guy.
And actually,
Dang.
you know the guy that's in The Mandalorian who was the kind of gunslinger sheriff?
Yep.
He reminded me of the original kind of look of Boba Fett. He was much thinner. You know,
Mm.
but by the time he got to Jango Fett, he was a bit on the bulkier side because naturally that's what your man is like, being where he's from.
Mhm.
And there was more bulk on him. But when you see Boba Fett, I was looking at him in The Empire Strikes Back just a couple of days ago, and when you see him in that film, he's quite slim, and he
Mhm.
looks more like the guy who was the kind of.
Yeah.
'Cause remember when I first saw that, I was going, "Hey, what the hell's going on?" You know, and it turned out, as we know, somebody else wearing his armor. But that was brilliant. That was I loved that look. It was looked leaner, looked like he
Yeah.
was living on his wits and not, as all muscle and no fat.
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
that suited him. Whereas you look at him now, and he's having that fight with your woman in the bar. Hey, princess, he looks too bulky, And I know he's a great
Mhm.
actor, but still, yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. That was a good car. And of course, he had a good voice as well. Actually, that part where he's no good to me dead. know,
Mhm.
I know they dubbed in his New Zealand accent. He's no good to me dead, but
I always love that original voice though. Like I love what Tamura's done, has done with the character and
Yeah.
everything. But man, that original voice of Boba Fett
better.
was just so awesome. Just what if
Yeah,
he
it was
doesn't
better.
survive? He's
Yeah,
worth
yeah.
a lot to me.
Yeah, it was great. It was great
Yeah.
accent. Kind of like, what was it? Was it an American accent? Kind of Brooklyn?
I forget who it was. Who
Mafia, was it?
it was damn good. That was what it was.
It was kind of a Rochester accent, really. Oh, Rogers, Boba Fett's from Rochester.
Who knew?
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. Yeah, it's a good analogy there. Yeah.
What film would you be in, Stu?
Given how much my wife constantly celebrates and talks about Halloween and is already talking about what we're going to be for Halloween next year, I would have to be somebody who lives in Halloween Town from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, great film.
Nice.
Love that.
Yeah, great film.
hmm
Just
It's
one of
like-
the civilians there.
Coming of age movie for kids, isn't it? Your kids kind of grown up and they go, "This is not scary. It's really cool."
Yeah.
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 it's a film, love.
Mhm.
Simon?
Given it was my old avatar, I'd probably have to go for Gonzo from Muppets Christmas Carol.
Ah, that's brilliant. Yeah,
Yes.
Gonzo's
Mhm.
the coolest Muppet, though, wasn't he?
It's cool. Yeah, he's the best, isn't it? I mean, he loves
One that just
chickens.
didn't give a shit.
There's no, everyone just glosses over the fact that he's attracted to chickens.
Mhm.
It's just like,
Mhm.
this is the most natural thing in the world. This alien dude with the hook nose and
Yeah,
a chicken.
and shit
So,
on
yeah.
the trumpet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got to be Gonzo.
yeah. Gonzo was the best. Kind of like, is there an origin to that name? Is there
Yes.
something about it? No,
yes.
I'm talking about the real character. Like, where did they come up with the name? Has that got a meaning in the States, Gonzo? Sort of thing?
I
Did they
don't
say?
know.
Just means weird or wild.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's a great character. Great character.
I think
Yeah.
I think I'd want to be one of Kevin's neighbours in Home Alone because those houses are gorgeous.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good
They're
one.
all
Yep.
flooded now. They've
Yeah.
all been flooded.
Oh, that's
your
true.
insurance
Yeah,
bills
the
go
Sticky
through the roof.
Bandit.
Damn
Or
Marv.
Wet bandits.
The Wet
Wet
Bandits,
Bandit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sticky Bandits.
Sticky Bandits was the
movie
second one.
the number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a Talk Boy. I don't
You
know if
did?
you guys remember that. Yeah, the credit
Yep.
card, you got it. Yeah, I had one of those.
Howdy
That's
do.
all you did with it. That's all you did with it was just record that one line and play it over and over again. And parents loved it. They loved hearing it every day, multiple times a day
I'm
for
sure
a
they
year.
did, yeah.
You need it now.
I love
Jared.
I
You
love
could
watching
use it
that
for
one
of
just
your
for
voices.
I love watching that one for Tim Curry too. Just
Oh,
a limousine
he's
and a
brilliant.
pizza.
Well, he doesn't do anything bad, does he? Tim Curry. You put Tim Curry in anything, and it's immediately.
He'll make it better.
100%
Yes.
Make it better by default. Yeah.
Even the Hunt
Oh
for
my
Red
gosh.
October, he was good in.
Oh, he's great in that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
Doctor, wasn't he? Sleep.
Mhm.
One
Yeah,
film we
yeah.
haven't mentioned, if we're talking about people who can transform films, is The Grinch.
Oh
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
on Christmas because
Yeah, that
Jim
film was
Carrey in
made for
that is
Carrey, wasn't it?
just amazing.
He was terrific. I was not a fan of the movie itself because the Who's were just assholes. Like,
and
they were
and
so-
the way they
and the-
looked bothered me.
Mhm.
And I know that it's based on the books, but they're much better illustrated.
Yeah.
Real life Who's are just unsettling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I never
He
saw
did.
the Jim Carrey Grinch. I've only seen the original Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
But you
Yeah.
know the
I mean,
thing
it's
is-
basically a Jim Carrey show. That's
yeah,
all it
and the
is.
thing about him
Mhm.
is, if they tried to do that now, the actual person themselves would be a CGI face. But Carey had the ability to actually bring
Yes.
that look to real.
Yeah.
You know,
He
was-
really
he was
did.
he was a visual acrobat. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's one thing that sticks out about me when you know that thing he did. God, I can't think. You know about the kids? It was kind of like a spooky thing where the kids. He was kind of the uncle.
Oh, the series of unfortunate events.
Yeah,
yeah,
when he
yeah.
did that imitation of the pterodactyl dinosaur, I just kind of I fell off the fucking chair. It was just the most amazing thing. And I think, you know, every time I was out somewhere in Dublin drunk, I'd say, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. You know, and you just can't. But it was just, it was amazing. And I think with the Grinch, if you tried to do it now, they would just CGI the person.
Yeah, they would.
You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
With him, it was
Yep.
just real.
It is
Oh,
just
he
incredible.
nobody else could have done that character
Uh,
the way that he did. Just brought it.
But
to life.
apparently, he was actually trained by someone who trains the CIA.
Yeah.
To not break under interrogation, to deal with having to put the makeup on every day.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
the first time they did it, it was
Wow.
like 8 hours to put it on.
Mhm.
It was
And it
Rick
at
Baker,
least
wasn't
3
it?
hours every day after that. And he
wow.
had to have special training, not to just, do an Andy Kaufman on it.
And that was
Just-
before you
Yeah.
had podcasts.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's an amazing. I mean, I sometimes often think about that, like, you know, the amount of work that went into it. And as you say, nowadays he'd be probably just given a green face and they just throw a CGI over it, you know, and that'd be it.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
He's such a great actor. He's everything. I love everything he's been in. You know, it's unfortunate like that he's not kind of mainstream anymore. But then again, I probably respect him more for that.
Yeah.
So,
Not a great movie, but man, the Riddler, Batman Forever.
Oh, yeah.
he
Yeah.
So
he
amazing.
held that film. He's brilliant.
I really need to
It's
see
the
that
only reason
Schumacher
I
cut
watched
too. You know, like I understand that like the Schumacher cut is just like leagues better than what it wound up being in theaters.
Right.
Well, it would have to
Right.
be.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see that.
Because like it's the little bits and pieces that I saw, like the deleted scenes and everything, that definitely gives it that darker edge that makes it look like, okay, I can see Batman Returns, Batman
Mm.
Forever, you know, and with
Yep.
Batman and Robin being its own weird, you know, just its own little
Mhm.
outcast
Its
of
own
a
thing.
film.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's
But,
a movie
but
that
yeah.
Sean loves.
Yep. Sean from Review It Yourself loves Batman and Robin.
Loves it.
Oh,
Wow.
Holy rusted metal, Batman.
He give
Well, that was for I remember
was
seeing that
Forever,
at
wasn't it?
Batman Forever, and everyone was just like,
It was
"What?"
like,
You know, just like they started getting like, "Oh no!" And then when they made the quick joke about it, it was just like, "Ground, it's all metal, it's full of holes, you know, holy." And it's like, "Oh," and then everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and it's like, "Okay, now we can go on."
Yeah, it was almost like it knew it was taking the mickey out of itself, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like it's in the last death throes, wasn't it? That franchise. It was
Yeah.
like get as much crap and sell as much crap as we can. You know,
pretty much, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
really
but
bad, really
but if
bad.
we don't have that, we don't get Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, you know, and
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
but DC keep
Yeah.
cocking it up. They keep divorcing with themselves. You know,
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
they can't commit to a universe. They can't commit to a
David,
full
There's
universe.
an evil
So,
twin in somewhere there that just keeps it right. The lore of DC, just like it's just kind of every time you think they're going to get it good, they just they crop.
But
The latest
the weird
sort of-
thing is though, is just like just as a quick note, like what they're doing right now, like the way that they have like this, they have this weird amalgam of like some movies that are together, but then there's a whole like blanket of all these other standalone movies.
Mm.
That to me is just like that's DC Comics right there, because
Mm.
like they keep
Yeah.
on rebooting the main line. I don't even know what the hell they're calling their main line these days, but but now it's just like so much of it is just standalone stories. They're just taking the characters and just moving them into this realm or this realm or this realm, and they're all
Mhm.
so malleable that they all work in their own
Yeah.
dialogue
story.
is
So it's
The
like
acting is
they
awesome.
finally realized that that their real strength, their real advantage over Marvel is their characters more than
Mhm.
anything. So
You look at the say take Superman, the Man of Steel, the dialogue and the acting and that was brilliant. Kevin Costner and so on, and
Mhm.
Timothy, what is it? And it was just amazing story and amazing acting, and the scenes were really, really good. And then you just look at fucking hoorah, Aquaman, this new one coming out, and you're kind of going, Jesus, that's only a generation. That's not even a generation. Like, that's not even as long as say the first Iron Man to the last movie that we've just seen. And like the one thing, if people are criticizing Marvel all the time, saying it's lacking, it's going too far, there's too much wide, people can't keep up and all that kind of. But what it doesn't slip down is, first of all, the standard of acting is always superb, the cast is always brilliant, and the dialogue and script is really tight. You don't get that with Marvel movies, and I think that would be fine to introduce all those crazy ideas that you're talking about, as long as the acting, the dialogue, and the script was good, which it is.
As long as there's a commitment to it, yeah.
George Lucas is doing the script in all the DC films. I firmly believe he's writing it, putting them under the door of whoever's in charge and saying, "That's a good one, do that one." Because I mean, when I sat watching that one with The Rock in it, and then
Black Adam.
Oh yeah.
And then fucking James Bond, Pierce Brosnan comes along, and I'm going, that's like an older, stupid version of Doctor Strange. It's like, even his acting was hammy. And it was like, oh, that's the guy we turned down for Doctor Strange. Oh, yeah, very good. Everybody in Marvel laughing their heads off. Oh, he was contestant number 673. He actually came after Mickey Rourke, who's dead 5 years.
Ken, you've done it now. You can just see it. They'll have a reality television show where they're just bringing anybody on to be cast in a future superhero film,
in a DC movie. Not a superhero movie. No,
Have you seen the Suicide Squad, the new one?
No.
Oh, that one's
I saw it.
excellent.
That was terrific.
Really,
Yeah.
But it doesn't it just scream Guardians all over?
Oh yeah. But it was like
everywhere.
It was the closest you'll ever see to a trauma version of a superhero film. Like it was so just saying out loud, it was the perfect blend of what the fuckery that I've ever seen, like in a movie. Yeah. And for it to be a comic book film and in like a superhero film and everything, and just to be like where it was like in the whole overall spectrum, I thought it was brilliant. I couldn't get enough of it.
I don't think they're appealing to the kids though. Like,
no. Well, they made it a hard
not
R.
with that.
No, sorry, I mean DC in general, because my daughter has about 20 friends that come in and out of the house, and they all love Marvel. They talk about Marvel all the time. There's like one for everybody in the audience for Marvel. They have their heroes, going right back as Black Widow all the way up to the new girl, Miss Marvel. They all love Marvel, Jesus Christ, they love Miss Marvel. They absolutely love her. They can see beyond all the bullshit that all the lads online are giving out about. They don't give a damn about that, right? All they know is that she's 3 or 4 years older than her, and she's cool. And when I asked them a few times, "Oh, did you see Aquaman?" They all look at me like, "Say, what's that? That's some stupid cartoon like SpongeBob." That's one of them said that to me. Is that like SpongeBob? And I said, "Wow, hoorah." So I think that's the problem. I think they're just appealing to adults with all of their films, and then they don't seem to be getting it right when they try and do kids movies.
They need Momoa in a SpongeBob film now, don't
they? They do actually.
He's not going to top the half, is he? Come on.
Yes, but hold on a second. If you said to kids, if you sat down 20 kids in a room and you say, "Right, guys, DC are going to make a movie. What should they do?" They would say, "Teen Titans movie now." Let's do what they did with Paw Patrol and turn it into a really high quality, and but have all the crap. Like Teen Titans never do superhero stuff. That's why they do. Every kid loves in Ireland. Every kid loves Teen Titans. They talk about it all the time. It's just a huge thing, and they just relate to it. I don't know.
Titans TV show on Netflix was pretty good. Yeah,
they love it. That's it. And then the specials, where they came into the real universe and met the voice actors and all that kind of thing. And then they met all the different Teen Titans. Like they had steampunk Teen Titans. And my daughter says to me, "Dad, they even had these Teen Titans with bowler hats and goggles." Steampunk, so it was amazing. So I think that's where, and the what's it called? Superhero Girls is really, really popular. Jeez, girls love that. It's kind of, they mix with the Teen Titans. They come into each episode every now and again. And they love it. So I think DC have just kind of need to fill the gaps if they want to catch up. But have they given up on Marvel trying to catch up? And do you think
that sounds like an ideal episode for like all of us to come back together? To discuss this. Yeah.
Going back to Christmas, I was about to say, because I keep looking at Jared's background, and I've just thought, I would love a Fraggle Rock Christmas film.
Oh, that
Well, you get a little bit of that in the Muppet Family
Muppet.
Christmas because
Yeah.
they have all the Muppets, they have all the Sesame Street guys come in and hang out with them, and then at some point, I think Kermit and Robin go into Fraggle Rock, and so like you get it's wonderful, and the whole thing is only like about 45 minutes long. You can find it on YouTube, and they have a terrific quality recording of it that's on there, and
That's
just
super cool.
It's so much fun. They got some great songs. I mean, they're all like, classic songs. So it's no like original songs, but they're all just like everyone just really brought their A game, and it's really like it's the Infinity War basically of the Muppets, with everyone like all together the way that they are. But the great thing is that Jim Henson's there, Frank Oz is there, Richard Hunt is there, like Carol Spinney is there, like all these wonderful people that we've lost over the years. They're all there. They all got to do something truly wonderful together. So I highly recommend that.
Oh, dude, that sounds amazing. So Marv, we should have in January want to come back. George can talk to us about the Muppet Christmas Carol, which he will have watched.
Yes.
Yes.
I will have watched by then. I promise you, I will have watched it by then.
It'll be the edited version. They'll cut out all the curse words, and I'll watch.
In all seriousness, Muppet Christmas Carol, generally speaking, is an edited version because they cut the song out, didn't they? Between Kane and
not
his
only
girlfriend.
is it on this album that you can't see, it is also it was on the original VHS that I got right after the movie came out. But there's also another, I think, 2 songs that never made it into the movie on this album. They're still selling this on im8bit.com, so I don't make money from that. But
they put the song back in again on Disney Plus.
Yes, they
did they?
Oh, good.
Good on
they
them.
took it out in the theatrical release, didn't they? Yeah.
what is the song? So I know.
The Love Is Gone.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
The Love Is Gone, and it actually that song missing from the movie just really affects the latter half, which incorporates some of that score from that song into.
But that's
so
the sign,
find
that's the sign
it
of
with
a
that
good
song.
Yeah, that's the sign of a good soundtrack is when you get a really good at the end you get an amalgamation of all the different themes and songs all the way through that
all
you
those
get at the end
feelings
of-
coming back, everything you've just experienced over the last 90 minutes. Yeah.
And this is also a sign of a very good roundtable because we're all just like enjoying this chatting amongst us all and everything. And at the same time,
George has got to go.
Getting buzzes.
George has got to go.
On my phone. I'm getting buzzed on my phone. I'm sure Stu is has to run as well. But at the same time, just like we're having such a good time chatting, so we definitely got to do this more.
Yeah, we'll get back together in January and see how everybody got on with the films that they've not seen before. Definitely.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
We'll get reviews of Die Hard. We'll get a review of Star Wars. We'll get. Somebody's going to say something about the Sound of Music.
Sound of Music. That's right.
I'll tell you now, I'm not going to be allowed to badmouth the Sound of Music in this house. It's not going to be allowed.
I'll be
You have to
watching
find a
where
quiet
Eagles
place to
there for the
record.
650 millionth time.
Right, George, explain where everybody can find you and get hold of you.
You can find me you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the main places where I really hang out. You can also find me on you can find me at the Once Upon a Podcast Network.com. You can also find my website at he'sgotit.com, as in by George, he's got it.
Okay, Simon.
You can find us at socks.buzzsprout.com and on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call that bin fire these days, as Who Takes Socks Off. We're on Facebook as well, and yeah, that's about it really.
Okay. Stu.
The podcast is the Stew World Order. The website is swoproductions.com, and you can find us on pretty much every social media as SWO Productions.
Okay, Ken.
Well, I'll just give you the comfortable spot. It's just you'll find it on thecomfortablespot.com. That's my website. All the episodes are there, and then I'm on Twitter as the same, and on Mastodon, and on Blue Sky. I'm on them all. So, they're just all horrible, but we have to do it, you know. Anyway, so that's it. The Comfortable Spot. Just look up the Comfortable Spot and Google it. You'll find it. It's great.
Yep. And Jared?
DesertSkiesPodcast.com. And you can also find me on Twitter at Desert Skies Pod.
Okay. Thanks for speaking with me today, guys.
You're most welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. You can find Pods Like Us on any streaming platform. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. I do still have a MySpace page, probably. I bet it's still there somewhere. I haven't been on that thing for about 12 years or something.
Can't believe somebody said that.
MySpace, dear me.
Oh, space.
We're going back to those chat groups, won't we?
Yeah, MySpace, where everyone can hear you scream.
Anyway, thanks for listening to us, and hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us. Take care, everyone.
Take care.